Welcome to Vitruvian Man Podcast. This is your host, Vinamre Kasanaa. In this podcast, we bring in some of the most aspiring Renaissance men and women who are killing it in different fields, whether that's arts, sciences, philosophy, creativity, you name it, I bring them here. Today, I have the honor of introducing my old friend, a student filmmaker, Ali Haejal. I've known Ali for almost 3 years now. We both go to Boston University in school where he's a film major. He's made a lot of student films, and he's someone whose creativity and work ethic I deeply admire. So let's begin. Ali, thank you so much for being here, man.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. You look sick in that Steve Jobs turtleneck.
I appreciate it, man.
It's sick. It's just instant. Is he one of your influences?
Steve Jobs?
Yeah.
Not really. I mean, you know, I definitely admire what he's done, and
Right.
he's a very, smart guy. But he had a lot of weird flaws to him, and
Yeah.
yeah, because I'm wearing a turtleneck doesn't mean, I'm a Steve Jobs admirer.
Absolutely. I just wanted to play to the stereotypes.
Sure.
But no, actually, let's talk a bit more about film. So how many films have you made so far as a student?
I mean, it depends on how you define like a film. I've made a lot of silly, shorts, and I made a plethora of those.
Yeah.
But I've also made a couple big and serious ones, and as time progresses, they get more and bigger and more serious, and
Right.
and so I couldn't tell you I made X amount of films because I make films all the time, and
Yeah.
I don't at any capacity I always make, even I can make a big film and then go back and make a film in a day and just shoot smaller stuff, and I don't have that idea of getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I just want to make stuff. So
you're interested in the process of creation as opposed to creating like a body of work.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's some artists who believe in you can only make great stuff, and you
Right.
can only make, like, Tarantino has this idea, I'm only gonna make 10 films in my life. And there are a lot of great artists that want to achieve this idea of they're perfect artists, and
Yeah.
I don't believe in that. I'm more of the older fashioned hold the camera, just make something for the sake of making something, and
Yeah.
flexing that muscle, and so yeah, I mean,
That's fascinating. So I see based on what you're saying, your approach to film, and if I may say so, your approach to creativity in general also is process oriented. You're not focused on perfection. You're not focused on the idea that there's a certain standard which I must adhere to. What you're focused on is basically consistency. I really like that. Could you talk more about that? How that stems your work, in the sense that because as a creative myself, I find that it's really hard to not judge yourself, because you have this sort of high standard in your head about what it is that you want to do, what is it that you want to show to the world. And oftentimes, the stuff that you make, at least the ones that you start with, if that's a film, if that's art, if that's a song, or if even that's a podcast, there's such a high standard that you adhere to, and oftentimes, trying to adhere to that standard ends up in you not executing or leaving things midway. So could you talk more about the consistency versus the perfection?
yeah. I mean, I try. I don't like to have this idea of I want to make a perfect project, because I know I'll never reach that project. So to fix that, I just make a lot of junk, or a lot of things just to flex it, and I don't try to limit myself to a few perfect projects that
Right.
I'm just I believe in consistency, and I believe that the more work you put in, and the more consistent you are, and the more you create, the better your work will get gradually.
Right.
So yeah, so it's just like it's a upwards trajectory, you know.
I see.
It's not like, yeah, like I make a film without the expectation of, you know, glory and hitting festivals and, you know, like everyone's gonna watch my film. No, I make a film for myself, knowing that if I keep on doing that, one day people will start liking my films.
Yeah.
As much, you know.
Right.
So
you come in with no ego.
yeah, no expectations. No, I mean, yeah, you know, of course, like, you know, I want to get better and I want people to like my work, but at the same time, you know, it's I don't have this idea of perfection. I don't have this idea of perfection.
I love that.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, what compelled you to choose film as your main genre of expressing yourself?
Whoa. I mean, everyone watches some sort of media nowadays, whether it's a TV show or, you know,
Right.
Movies.
Yeah,
And
we're consuming content.
yeah, we're
on a daily
consuming
basis.
videos, and
Yeah.
YouTube is booming, and
Yeah.
we're always consuming content, and it's fascinating to me how much, you know, film and, you know, digital media has an impact on everyone's lives.
Absolutely.
And if I have, you know, and if I have, you know, the honor to tap into, you know, that field and make a dent in my way, you know, in the massive outflow of creative digital media.
Right.
If I can, you know, make a dent, then that'd be nice.
You think you have lived a good life if you do that?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Okay. So I'm curious. So you talked about how, like, you were fascinated by film because of its pervasiveness in our lives and the sheer amount by which we consume them. But I'm still curious as to what made you what made you decide, okay, I'm gonna make films? Because I'm sure, like, I mean, you were born in 97, 96, right? Yeah. When both of us were growing up, I mean, digital media was still not a big thing back then, right? It was still, TV was still pretty big in the late 90s, early 2000s, and satellite television had just come on, right? Radio was also pretty popular. Newspapers are popular. So really, this digital media boom happened after Facebook really came in around early 2000s. So when you were growing up, is this still something that you had, that I want to make films, or is it something that was a result of you tapping into this new media?
I've always been interested in the creative fields. I mean, growing up, I was very into acting at a point, theater. I did theater in high school. I did magic at a point, music. Just, I don't know. I just always had that creative expression, that urge to create.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, part of me, and
it's innate.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's hard to explain. I like creating stuff.
Yeah.
And I enjoy the reaction of, you know, people when I show what I've created, you know, no matter how small, if I can make something that someone laughs at or tears up in, or you know, one day, you know, hitting emotionally, you know, massive audiences. I mean, that, and I just enjoy creating. I was into stand-up comedy for a while, and film to me, it was something that, you know, encompasses all those, you know, art forms. You can do whatever you want in film. You can, you know, make something silly or make something serious, or, you know, it is its own, you know, magic in its own way, and that, you know, that's why. Yeah, it's just an urge, you know. It's just an urge to create.
There's no real explanation for this sort of. I was working with this director this summer.
Yeah.
He said that one of his interviews, he said that he was asked, you know, this question, like, why do you make films? It's like, he said, it's a disease.
Yeah.
If I don't, I'll die.
Yeah.
It's that sort of urge that just comes out from, I don't know, your soul perhaps that compels you to do it. Because I mean, I've had times where I've been forced, unable to create anything, and I've seen how my mood dips down, and I feel like I'm trapped in a way. Has that happened to you? Have there been days where you were just unable to create anything, or have you been starved of that process?
I sometimes, sometimes I do get that. I mean, as with any, artist, you get those times where you want to create something and the idea isn't coming into your head, and that writer's block, as they say. But I whenever I get stuck, I always force myself to create anything, whether it's to draw or to play an instrument, or go outside and just talk to people, just something to release that inner tension.
Yeah.
And then once that's, and inspiration's everywhere. Inspiration is everywhere. I don't believe in writer's block. I don't believe in not having an idea, because you just look around and
Yeah.
ideas are everywhere.
There it is. Yeah.
They're everywhere. You just have to go outside and do stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
I like that. It's interesting how, well, this is something one of my professors said. He said, "Don't sit down to do this assignment." And I was like, this is a confusing statement. What does it mean? He's like, "Well, when you sit down, you'll be most likely to face this thing that they call writer's block. It's like, now you're just putting pressure on yourself to do something." And he says, instead, let the ideas come to you as you go about your daily life, as you talk to people, as you do other things, and let those ideas marinate and incubate in your head. And I really like that, because like, again, what you said about inspiration being everywhere. It's just that when you sit down to work, that's fine. If it doesn't happen, do something else which also expresses that energy, like you said, that tension. And I think that's great, because I found that, especially with talking to people, is like the days where I have a really busy schedule, I can't do anything, I still make it a point to have conversations with at least 3 strangers. And there's a creativity in that also. Because you're basically creating a to and fro of emotion and information, and you don't know where you're going to end. And it's often messy, it's often complicated, but the joy is the fact that there was something inside you and you delivered it, the other person responded, and I mean, I just think of it like that. So what are some other ways, like, again, you mentioned you play an instrument, you talk and stuff. What are some of the ways in which you, I'd say, articulate your ideas when they come?
I articulate the ideas. I'm a very sloppy guy. Talking about perfection, I'm not of that mindset. I'm a very wing it mindset, even if it's sloppy. I'm the kind of guy that I force myself into random situations, without any expectation whatsoever, just to get better at winging it.
Right.
Example, when, a lot of the times I'm of this mindset where, I just grab a camera and grab a few friends and just shoot a film with no expectations whatsoever. Mm-hmm. And at first it's hard, and it's difficult to not have that structure or that basis, or that you fail a lot, you make a lot of,
it's free falling.
Yeah, because you're just jumping off a cliff again and again and again. But one day you'll learn how to land softly.
I like that.
It's like that. That's expression.
Awesome.
I there's the story of there are a bunch of sheeps following each other off a cliff, and they keep on falling and falling and falling. But the sheep that are behind, they end up falling on the soft pile of sheep. Right. And they survive, and they just walk away.
Yeah.
And that's what I like to think that I've died creatively 1,000 times, and I'm still gonna die,
and then rise up
but
again
one
like
day,
the phoenix.
Yeah, I mean, not rise, but one day I'll jump and I'll land, and I'll be all right.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's parallel to this expression of standing on the shoulder of giants.
Yeah.
Like because I don't know, Martin Scorsese's and Darren Aronofsky, you love those guys. because they've made the sort of cinema they've made, or you know, other musicians like Jimi Hendrix or anyone who's a pro in their field, because of the stuff they've done, the fall for us as contemporary creatives is a lot more smoother. And I think that's only going to continue on as times go by. I think that's what's happened, you know. It's like when I say standing on the shoulder of giants, I mean that in the sense that a lot of people have already put in the work, so it's easier for us to kind of do our own thing and then find our voice, as opposed to, you know, just I don't know, just climbing down hard without any sort of support in well, any sort of support on the floor, if you know what I mean. Because I mean, I think with genres as expansive as film, music, TV, let's especially talk about film, like there's so much that has been done, right? Anywhere from, I mean, you think about when the first movie came, what was it, the train coming in the station, I forgot what its name is.
Train. You're just putting me on the spot.
That's fine. The something.
The Great Train Robbery.
The Great Train Robbery.
The train something.
Yeah, basically, yeah. I think it was a film that came out with a train coming in the station, and ever since then we've seen so many advances in cinema. I mean, I'm not an expert, but I do believe that it's far more easier to make the sort of stuff that we want to make, because the visual imagination has been stretched so much, especially in 2018. So, my question to you is, how do you understand what is it in film that will appeal to people, or is it something that you're still learning?
Oh boy. Well, first
Put you on the spot.
First off, I don't think it's any easier for us than it was for people creating cinema. Well, they had to invent cinema, but now we have to reinvent cinema.
Interesting.
Because, all right, now everyone knows how to. Everyone has access to a camera. And everyone has access to editing software.
Right.
And anyone can make a movie. And more than ever, it's cheaper and easier, and in that sense, it's wonderful for small, you know, independent filmmakers like myself, but there are also a lot of competition because of that. And how are you gonna stand out? How are you gonna stand out? You can't stand out by just doing what's been done over and over again. You gotta reinvent. You have to make something that is so radically different that it stands out and clings, and it has to be good. Not only does it have to be different, it has to be good. Yeah. And that's a, you know, back then they, you know, that was the only film being made. Yeah. You know, the Great Train Robbery, that was the only film made at that became time. The norm. That was the best film of its year, because it was the only film of its year. Yeah. And, you know, in a year, thousands of films are being made now. Yeah. How do you stand out? How do you make that dent?
That's true.
Yeah. So it's a different challenge. It's definitely a different challenge. It's way easier to make a film. Yeah. But how do you stand out? That's the
right, especially with the sort of saturation of media that we face now. Yeah. I mean, not just film. I think like even with social media, it's like most media is saturated in the sense that hardly anything that comes out today can be considered novel or can be considered niche, because everything is so accessible, right? Yeah. And I'd say even a goat farmer in like Arkansas or somewhere can have access to beautiful short films on YouTube, right? Yeah. And how do you combat that when the average Joe has seen, you know, stuff that you thought was reserved for the niche, so you can make a dent. Yeah. But now even the mainstream is becoming more complex. Yeah. So coming back to the idea of film, what are some myths about filmmaking, especially filmmaking as a student, I'd say?
What are some
myths about filmmaking that you think are stupid? Myths? That exist. Myths, like myth.
Myths about... What are some myths about filmmaking that I think don't exist?
That exist, and you think they're stupid.
That I think... Okay. What are some myths? That... Well, first off,
Like, I know for a fact that one thing is anyone can be a filmmaker. That's both empowering and both, I don't know, giving rise to stupid people to do stuff.
Yeah.
In the sense that if I have a camera, I can make a film. It doesn't have to have a story or anything. And anyone can call themselves a director. This sort of ease with which anyone can take on what I'm sure you see it in a different light, because you've actually been through studying film and creating film and being immersed in film as opposed to someone who just has a camera. So there's one that I could think of.
I mean, I don't think I mean, anyone can be a director or filmmaker. It just needs, it's not easy. It's a lot of work, but it doesn't mean it can't be done. I can't think of any myths.
Okay.
Yeah.
Scratch that. Not a problem. I just wanted to know because, it's sometimes the practitioner of a certain field has knowledge that the public does not, and oftentimes there's misconceptions about things, and then it's always interesting to know. But anyway, moving on. There's this question that struck me. On a scale of 1 to 10, how weird are you as a person?
How weird am I as a person?
Yeah.
I like that question. On a scale of 1 to 10. There is this saying by Dr. Seuss that I like is, if you want to be number 1, you have to be odd. And when I heard that, that struck me because, as I was saying before, it's such a dense field and everyone's creating content. How do you stand out? You have to be a little weird. You have to be a little weird to be obsessive in general. How weird am I on the scale of 1 to 10? It's a difficult.
I can hear the silence and then the question and thinking of like.
Yeah. I feel like everyone's weird. Everyone has their own kinks. Everyone is different.
Yeah.
Because I'm very involved in, the creative process, I'm very involved in art. That involves a different perspective, I guess, towards life. I'm always seeking out the strange and the eccentric and the eerie and the weird, because it's fun and it's creative and it's cool and it's interesting. Weird is interesting. And so I feel like I like observing weird things. And that in turn must shape me into becoming a weird, because I obsess with myself with the strange and the different.
Yeah. It's like the influences that you have shape the person that you are.
Yeah, exactly. So, I'm not,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So you were talking about your creative process briefly. So how does an idea come into your head and then goes on paper? I know you already said you were a pretty sloppy guy.
Yeah.
And you wing it, but there must be something, Stephen Pressfield in his book The War of Art calls it the muse, and he's always on his toes because he knows the muse might come at any second. Even when he's having food, he's like, if this idea strikes, I'll have to leave right now and start working.
Yeah.
It's that sort of I'd say reverence for when ideas come. So like, how do ideas come to your head and how do you go about executing them?
I feel like in general I'm a pretty observant individual. And I've trained myself to become more observant, and I enjoy just watching from afar, you know, and because of that, I'm always, there's inspiration, as I say, in everything. Everything is inspiration.
Right.
The thing is, what stands out more than everything else? Because everything is inspiration, what is the best inspiration you can have.
Right.
And it's just a gut feeling when sometimes you get an idea, or you see something, or you talk about something, and something sticks in your head, and it just, you think about it a lot, and before you go to sleep you think about it, and you write it down, and you write what you think about, and then you commit, to an idea,
Interesting.
and then you force yourself to commit to an idea, because you have to commit. And once you force yourself, you're stuck to an idea, and then from that idea, you're looking around to be like, what can I attach to this idea?
Interesting.
So let's say I'm making making a movie about a podcast, for example, right? And I'm very interested in podcasts, and what if, and then because of that, I start thinking about podcasts, and I think about the life of a podcaster, and I end up researching a lot of podcasts. I do a lot of research, and I look up a lot of whatever I'm researching about, whether it's a character that has a certain obsessiveness, or a certain character trait that I don't know well about, and I end up researching. And once I start researching, that takes me into the world of that person, and I start seeing it wherever I go. I start seeing different ideas, like, oh, that'd be nice to talk about on a podcast,
Right.
for example.
Right.
Or
Yeah.
that'd create drama. That's cool. What if I put this? What is a cool situation I can put these podcasters in? Ooh, that is, I see a couple fighting in a McDonald's. I'm like, ooh, that's pretty interesting. Fighting in a McDonald's.
It's
throwing,
all It's so fascinating. Wow. Because this is the exact same process that I also venture through whenever I start a new project, whatever that is. It's like I think of an idea. Okay, the idea is now written down exactly. It goes through multiple reworkings and rewritings, because oftentimes the first thing you write down is not the best. You think about it, and then once you commit to that, my whole process, especially walking on the street, involves my senses interacting with stimuli from the street, and trying to add situations to my own podcast or my project or whatever that
200%,
is. Right? Right? And so what are some of the things that you've noticed in the process of being observant about people? Like you said that you observe people, and if they have obsessive traits, then you try to incorporate them, or you just become obsessed about, peculiar people. What are some peculiar traits that people have that you've often noticed?
What are some... I mean, everyone's peculiar. Everyone.
Right.
I've never met a person that doesn't have a peculiar trait. Now, once you find that trait, once you, I don't know. Once you find that idea,
Right.
you think, why is that person behaving this way? Why is that person?
So you ask a question.
You could ask. Most people aren't aware that they have, or they deny that they have these traits. I'm trying to think of an example to make it more clear. I'm writing this story about this kid that believes in fate.
Fate or faith.
Fate. It's a story about this guy and this girl that meet up, and they discuss whether or not they should, stay together after a very fateful night.
Okay.
Something like it's... And he believes in fate, and this girl doesn't believe in fate. And those are themes that I want to discuss, let's say, in a film.
Okay.
And then from that, I think to myself, okay, what are some, examples of fate? Who are people that believe in fate, and why do they believe in fate? And then I look into my life, and I see people that, are what are the traits that faithful people have?
Right.
Optimism, open-mindedness, you know. And then once I see that, I'm like, okay, I can shape this character a little more because I can understand this person a little more. I observe it from the people around me.
Mm-hmm.
And I do the same with the antagonist, the person that doesn't believe in fate.
Right.
Why is someone so cynical? What makes a person that cynical?
Right.
What experiences does this person have? And then I observe it from, the people around me, or I go online and I check. I look up different people who have these traits and trace back to.
Yeah. It's gonna be such a fun process, just like digging deep into someone's psyche.
It's just diving into people's psyche, and then you understand characters. I'm very heavy on characters. So you create these characters that you like, and you have this theme that you like, and then you throw these characters into situations that bring out this theme.
Interesting.
And what situations can you put a person, two people in that talk about fate? And then I just spend my days just walking by, thinking about, okay, I'm just thinking about, this in the back of my head that my idea is always there.
Yeah.
Whenever I see something, whenever I see drama or conflict that has something to do with the theme that I'm looking for,
right,
I note that or write it down, and from that dramatic situation, I'm able to hash these characters around and play with them and to develop, to tell the story that I'm trying to tell and say what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
If that's more of a a concrete answer to
that's a beautiful answer. I mean, in that process, I was just mesmerized because I could understand. Oh, this is what it takes to draw someone's basic characteristics out. Yeah. One of the things that you mentioned was that you put them in situations which brings that out. Yeah. So when you say situations, and I know this is true for plot writing and novel writing in general, is that a protagonist wants something, right? This is the most basic model. But there's a problem because there's something standing in his or her way to get that, right? And you start at the beginning of the protagonist's want to tell their story, and then by the time you reach the climax, the protagonist overcomes a lot of conflict in want of that thing, and then something happens, and then by the end the conflict gets resolved, and in the end you'll find out if the protagonist got that thing. And in that process, did they sacrifice something? Did they transform as a person? Yeah. What sort of, I'd say, psychological transformation they went through to achieve that thing, and whether they achieved that thing or not, or whether their motivation was to achieve that thing or not, or something else comes out, right? That's a basic structure. So for example, how does one, and in general life also, and it's okay if you can't give like a concrete answer to this because it's a pretty open-ended question. How does one, for example, I know that I have, so let's just say I'm someone who's obsessive as a person. If I dive into something, I really dive into it, right? Or for that matter, I have that's better. I have a capacity for courage. I may not be courageous, but I have a capacity for courage. So how does one, using that film logic, go about putting themselves in situations that takes that out?
Well, I'll give you an example in the film I've made. Okay. I made a film called EM. It's an Arabic film. And this is a story about two friends who haven't seen each other in a very long time. Okay. And they come in with different expectations. The protagonist he wants to reunite with his old friend, and the old friend doesn't really care about this relationship. And so I was thinking, while writing this, I was thinking, what action shows this selfishness, or this this one guy cares for the other and the other guy doesn't really think or have space for the other person. Right. And I noticed one day, two of my friends were sitting down and they were sharing a pack of chips. And one of the guys was hogging one guy was being generous and he passed his pack of chips to the other guy, and the other guy just hogged it.
Yeah.
And I saw that, and I was like, wow, that is, pretty selfish. But what does that say about their relationship, right? What does that say about if you did care about the other person, you'd prioritize them over the pack of chips.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't. So once you prioritize a pack of chips over your friend, what does that say about your relationship? And so in my film, I have a scene where that happens. They share a pack of chips, and the old friend just hogs the pack of chips, and
Yeah.
and that creates tension, that creates drama, and without saying much, without any verbal debate, is just an action of showing that these guys aren't on the same plane. That's like a more concrete example of what I mean by observing drama in reality and
Yeah.
plugging that into my films.
I see. That's interesting. So your inspiration for things, at least the ideas that you end up executing, are not just restricted to the films that you watch, but also a lot of it is borrowed from real life.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, and again, one of the myths that I personally believed in until this point was that all great ideas, at least if you're going about making a film, should come from watching a film. But it's stupid, I know, but it's just that, when you come from such a myopic framework of seeing things, you forget that, all film is basically depicting human behavior, and it has to come from some place. It has to come from real life, and only then you can build upon it. Wow, so that's crazy. I never thought of it like that. That relationship between the friend, one is generous, the other is sort of focused on satiating his instant desire, as opposed to reciprocating.
Yeah.
Right. Wow. Are there more examples in which more primary human emotions like this manifest? Have you seen some of that?
I mean, I made a film called Gerbil.
Okay, I watched that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's about a long distance relationship.
Yeah.
And it occurred to me, I was on the train, and I saw this one girl FaceTiming I assume her boyfriend, and she was crying, and they were going through a breakup. And immediately I was thinking, thank you. Immediately I was thinking, how crazy must it be to go through a breakup in the T?
Yeah.
Inside a train. Now that is drama. And that is just, it's just a fascinating observation.
Right.
And then I was dwelling on that idea of how difficult must it be to be in a long distance relationship.
Yeah.
Of a difficult one, and thus, based on that theme and those ideas, I came up with my movie.
I see.
Is that more of a concrete answer?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. The reason I ask these questions, it might seem weird, is because I'm trying to understand as much as I can as to how your films or anyone's films for that matter come about, because it's both a matter of observing films, media, and also observing real life, and then putting them into visually tellable stories, right? So this is your approach to filmmaking, and I'm sure people have different approaches. Have there been times when, say, you're working on a collaborative project, which is something that tends to happen when you're a student filmmaker? You have to collaborate with people. Most of the times, and correct me if I'm wrong, not a lot of money is involved, right? So it's more about the sort of relationships that you foster with those people defines how well your film is going to be executed, right?
Sure.
Because if you're a shitty director, a shitty person, then that's going to reflect in the mood of the crew as well, right?
True.
So have there been times when you have creative disagreements, and if yes, how do you resolve them?
Generally, I work with people that I know that I know we're on the same, at least on the same direction, the same vision.
Okay.
You know, because if you work with people that are fundamentally in a different position on the same project, then that
How so? Like.
you know, if I wanna make a film that goes in the like a romantic direction versus someone wants it to be more of a thriller, my
Okay.
cinematographer, for example, wants to be more of a thriller, then that's not never gonna work out between us.
Right. Right.
But let's say we both want to go on the romantic direction, for example. That's to me that's important. And so and definitely, on set there are creative differences. Sometimes the location doesn't work, sometimes people aren't happy, sometimes people are late or something goes wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I always like to think, as a filmmaker, as a director, that you can work with someone who's blockaded. Let's say I'm working with an actor,
Mm-hmm.
and the actor wants to say a different line than what I wrote, for example. To me, I believe that if the actor wants to say that line, let the actor say that line, because if I tell the actor to say the line the way I want it to be said,
Yeah.
then the actor will be blocked from their creative capabilities.
Right.
Let's say, for example, the cinematographer wants to shoot like I have an idea for a shot, and the cinematographer is like, "Ooh, I like this more."
Yeah.
Generally, I'll be more intended to follow that person's creative gut, because I'm a very collaborative guy in general, and I trust a lot. Sometimes it's difficult to trust, because sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes you
Yeah.
trust someone and it doesn't go the way you want it to. But generally, being more trusting, one really relieves a lot of tension, on your shoulders.
Yeah.
For example, I know some student filmmakers generally. I'm a student filmmaker. I'm not trying to, but I know a lot of people that want to hog the camera and want to hog the actors and want to control, and you have to say
Yeah.
my line, and this is the way I want it to look. And generally those films don't do as well, because they're very closed down.
Yeah.
Versus the way I like to work, the way I work, and it definitely has a lot of flaws, but
Yeah.
I don't touch the camera. I don't even look at the camera. Which some of my friends would be like, "What? You don't even look at the?" I don't look at the camera. I trust my DP.
Mm-hmm.
I trust my cinematographer with the camera, because that's his job. And because I trust him with the camera, he wants to do more work into getting a better shot, because he knows that I'm letting him do what he wants.
Yeah. Well, he's got freedom of expression.
Yeah, and he has, and now he's like, "Oh, let me get creative. Let me do what I want to do.
Yeah.
Since I have that. Let me experiment. Let me play around."
Yeah.
And same with actors. When I give an actor that freedom to be like, "Hey, I don't care what you say. I don't care, as long as you're being this character and you're being truthful.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what happens, and I trust you." And once you say I trust you to someone, they want to put 1,000 times more work into the project.
Man, that's a recipe for success.
Because there's this idea of auteurism, and I do believe I believe in auteurism, that the filmmaker or the
who don't know that, can you explain what auteurism is?
The auteurism, the idea that the filmmaker or the director specifically shapes the film and creates the general everything, from writing, from the way the actors act, to the way the film looks, to the style of the film.
His influence is on every single part.
Part of the film, and that I do agree, because the filmmaker usually has something to say, and that if a film is generally a filmmaker trying to say something.
Mm-hmm.
And it can't be everyone. It's got to be that one person creating it, because not everyone has something to say. Yes, but So, nonetheless, if you wanna, from my experience, from my limited experience, if you want people to work on your set and enjoy working on your set, and put in their 1,000% into making this project, you have to be trusting and you have to be passionate. And once you're trusting and passionate, people eat that up. People give their all, because they're like, oh, this person is trusting me, and this person cares a lot about this project, and they trust me, you know, and they trust me. They care a lot about this project, and they trust me. That means they think I'm good, and I'm gonna prove that. I'm gonna, you know, prove them that I can do it, and I'm not gonna let them down. Yeah. And thus they try. Generally, they try their best. From my experience, sometimes, you know, I've been trusting with people that don't perform as much as I'd want them to perform. In that situation, you just gotta you know that person can't do, you know, that's a relationship that's, you know, not gonna develop more in the future, you know. And so, as I said, I don't have expectations. I'm just playing around, making my movies. I work with people that I like, and if I like them and we work well together, we will work well again, and trying to, you know, make a team of people. And once that happens, it's just then you can start making really cool stuff.
I love that. I love the trusting part. It's it's, I mean, this is something that almost no one, even in the more contemporary advice and self-help industry talks about, is the idea of placing a trust. Because I can see it, because usually what happens, and this has been the norm in the depiction of directors, you know, creative personalities, artists. You often see one big man in his big ivory tower shooting instructions here, there. I mean, obviously, you're still a student filmmaker, and I'm still starting out too, but at the same time, it's interesting how once you get established, or even on the verge of being established, you can have the passion, but it's really hard, or I'd say a lot of people don't do it, is that they don't inspire trust. It's almost like, this is my project, I'm heavily passionate about it, but you can help me on the side.
I mean, what does that say to people? Like, it says like, I'm better than you, and you guys don't get it, and only I get it, and, you know, I think that's a very obnoxious attitude towards it, because it's just at the end of the day, it's just a film. It's just a film. So, you know, I know that what I'm doing, you know, I know that I'm grateful that I'm able to make films for, you know, in my life. Like, it's you know, we're playing around. It's a gift, and I'm you know, I'm grateful. I'm aware of it, and because I'm aware of it, because I'm grateful. It's not that I don't take it seriously. I take it very seriously, but I don't care for the mental strain that being obnoxiously protective of your baby creates. Because I know there are a lot of artists out there that are, you know, they're a little too much, they're a little too protective, they're a little too pretentious about the work, and that creates a lot of ego, and ego is very painful, and I don't want to go through the pain of, you know, ego.
You want the process to be as hassle-free as possible. But I do want to play devil's advocate and say that oftentimes, you know, it's great to be open-minded. It's great to let others' ideas in, but the notion that the artist's vision is the artist's vision, and then you cannot tamper with it, actually has some credibility. Because if you think about it, if you start listening to every Tom, Dick, and Harry that has an idea about your film, even if there's someone you trust, yes, your idea might develop, but you know, some things are not meant to be second guessed, if you know what I mean.
I guess.
Yeah. So I mean, is this a policy that you play 100%? Like, when you decide, okay, this idea is good, but like, I still believe my own vision.
So when generally I'm very trusting. Therefore, when there are times that I'm, you know, someone second guesses something, or, you know, but I'm sure that usually when people share ideas, they're usually good ideas, or if if I don't think they'd work, if I don't think those ideas would work, that's when I put my foot down and be like, hey, let's just do it,
This way.
this way.
Yeah.
But because I've given them the opportunity to be expressive all those other times, they won't take it as personally as, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
you let the I don't know, the cinematographer play around and do their creative outlet. But when there's something you're certain that, no, I want it to be shot this way.
Yeah.
The cinematographer doesn't mind because
they've had their share of
exactly. They know that and when you trust someone, they trust you back.
Right, of course. It's a two-way process.
Yeah, it is a two-way approach because when they they trust you back, and when you want an actor to do something that that they aren't sure of, but they trust you because you trust them. And that's and when an actor trusts you, that's it's beautiful because
it's just beautiful to be trusted by human beings.
Yeah.
Because it's so hard in our age, I feel like no matter what, a lot of human relationships, they might have a strong foundation, but there's little chinks in the armor, that from which mistrust just flows out.
Yeah,
it's like, when was the last time you saw friendships or relationships predicated on the absolute idea of trust?
Yeah.
There's always those little, like, you look back and you're like, you doubt people's intentions, and that's crazy. I feel like in any sort of creative field, I think trust should be the norm, period, because if there's contempt and there's resentment and then there's mistrust, it's going to be, I feel like it's going to affect the art that comes out in the end. It's like your intention defines what the actual product is in the end. And if your intention is misaligned, if you have individual agendas, then it often manifests in ways that you would not expect. But I want to ask you this. As someone who's, let's just say, not initiated in the world of film, where does one start?
In film? I mean, there's this famous saying that get a camera, shoot something, edit it together, piece it together, you made a movie, you're a film director. And then after that, you're just practicing and practicing.
Okay.
When people ask me, what do you do? A lot of my friends find this reluctance or shyness to say I'm a filmmaker or I'm a director or I'm a writer director. The same, I'm a film student. I'm still learning. I mean, everyone still learns. I mean, the greatest filmmakers learn every day. It's not you'll never.
It's
know.
like I'm an aspiring writer. No, you're a writer.
Right,
period.
Exactly. And once you put yourself in that mind state, you just keep on creating.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's like it's also your self identity, which dictates how much success you're gonna have in any field. Because I think of it like this: if I just have like a website that says, "Hi, my name is Vinamre. I'm an aspiring writer," no one is gonna take me seriously.
Yeah, exactly, 200%.
Look at this person; he's still learning. Yes, I mean, even I'd say Shakespeare at the age of 60 was still learning.
Yeah, definitely.
He would never write down an aspiring writer, right? He would just say I'm a writer.
Yeah.
And it's that switch. No matter how stupid you are, no matter how shitty your work might seem to your eyes, that simple switch from a work in progress aspiring writer to a writer.
Yeah.
Is just huge, because then your identity also shifts, and as a result, the way you handle your work also shifts. It's so crazy. This simple shift I also went through recently. I think it was in 2017 when I decided, okay, I am a creative, I'm a content creator, as opposed to, oh, I'm just starting out.
Yeah.
Oh, this is just a hobby, or oh, this is something that I aspire to do one day. And I've seen the difference. It's like now all of my projects have to follow a certain standard, which I have prescribed. They have to have a certain process, which I have developed. And all of that really pushes me to the max. Whereas, I could always give myself some leeway and say, I'm just aspiring. It's okay if there's a typo. No, it's not okay.
Yeah.
It's that difference between the word aspiring writer and writer. It's like, it's not okay.
Yeah.
You can make mistakes, but try to avoid them as much as you can, because it's once you've identified as a professional, no matter, even if you don't feel like you're a professional, at least do the part.
Yeah.
At least do the part
Yeah.
of showing up
Yeah.
and doing the thing that is required of that
Yeah.
of that position. You know what I mean?
200%.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's it's confidence. I mean, it's, and you make a film and you're a filmmaker. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there's no amount of affiliations and accreditations that can come that can prove you that. It's all about like believing that yourself. So I want to ask you, what's like your, well, it's a tricky question because I mean we're both young in that sense, but I do want to. What's one thing that you would like to say to someone who's dabbling in creativity, is half in, half out, doesn't know how to express themselves? What is your advice to creatives?
I mean, I'm also, as we said, we're young, and
Absolutely. So
advice
we're not saying this
Yeah.
from the high horse.
Yeah.
Look at us established filmmakers.
Yeah.
A meeting between Renoir and Buñuel.
Yeah. This is, we're just
This is Mr.
No,
Haejal and
yeah.
Mr. Kasanaa.
from what I've from my limited experience,
Mhm.
I've learned that if you wanna do something, just do it, and if you fail, you fail, and if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. Move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Instead of being that on the fence, like, I'd like to try something, try it. Put in the work.
Mm-hmm.
Put in the work, because it's work. It's not easy.
Yeah.
You put in the work and you do it.
Yeah.
And if you're like, I like this, it turned out like trash, but
Yeah.
there was something I liked in the making of it. There was something that I felt that I want to feel again. And then you do it again, and you
start
keep on
replicating
doing
that
it.
feeling,
Yeah, that feeling. And if ultimately it leads nowhere, then it leads nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And if you stop feeling it after a while, you stop feeling it after a while, and then you move on to the next thing.
But you keep working.
Yeah, you keep working on anything. I mean, you keep on working. You keep on, as I was saying, I generally, when I want to try something out, I just do it.
Yeah.
Do or do not, there is no try.
Yes.
Yeah.
The great Yoda said
Yeah,
that.
I mean, because it's true. There is, you do it, you either are or you're not. There is no like, I'm an aspiring.
I'm like in the middle.
Yeah.
Please give me some room. I'm still growing.
Yeah.
No one cares about that.
Yeah. I mean, you either are or you're not.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, it's not, it's pretty low stakes what we do. We're not curing cancer or anything. We're just making movies. So,
but no, even that is such a great battle also. Like, I mean, it might seem easy to you or to me as someone who's, well, not on the other side, but like definitely someone who's tapped into something that they have. It'd be preposterous to say that either one of us have tapped into our gifts completely, whatever they are, but like we're still in the process of doing that, and we're enjoying that. But I do know that there's a lot of people, and especially as people get middle-aged, they have this thing like, I always wanted to be creative, I always wanted to try something, but I never had the time. I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. So it's like, it seems easy now, but like I can only give testament to the fact that how many inner personal creative battles I've had to fight to get to this place, and this place means nothing. I mean, there's so much more.
yeah.
But it's those. So I think of it like this: any idea is basically two thoughts fighting, and one comes up, or two or three, whatever.
Yeah.
Right? And one comes up, and we've been lucky enough that the one that comes out is actually something that can then be used for creativity, because that's not often the case for some people. When people start out, it's especially, and this is what I wanted to kind of bring the discussion toward is this idea of discouragement, man. When you start out, holy shit, if your thing sucks, which mostly it does,
Yeah.
there's just such a backlash. I mean, you can have like your inner circle being like, oh, it was good, I really liked it, but then they bitch about your creative work, whatever it is, and you don't get the recognition that you thought you deserved. So how does one battle this like early discouragement? Because I've faced my fair share of it. I know you have as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, as I was saying, you have no expectations. I can intellectually understand it, but yeah.
but
I it's like a very, like, have no expectations. Yes, when when you make a project that doesn't hit well or doesn't come out the
Yeah.
way you want it to, of course it's gonna hurt. But on to the next one. I don't know. There's no room to be there's no room to be discouraged. Like even the biggest filmmakers make bad films and
Yeah.
they get very discouraged. And they don't make film for 10 years. But if honestly for me, I try go into everything without any expectations. Yeah.
So you just take the plunge.
I like diving in. Again, this is me, not like I don't have a $3 million budget.
Right.
Yeah, this is me with very low stakes.
Yeah.
But I have the sense that if I keep on doing it and taking bigger and bigger and bigger steps,
Yeah.
eventually I'll be able to do that with a $3 million budget.
Yeah.
And it'll turn out good, turn out bad, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So you push yourself just a little more in the next step, and just a little more, and eventually, I don't know, you can do a full-on stretch.
I mean, yeah. Different people have different approaches to it.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are like, no, just you gotta keep on flexing bigger flexes. You gotta jump from this size to this size to this size to this size. Versus me, I make a as I was saying, I make a film that I spend months working on, and then I make a film that I spend a week working on.
Yeah.
And I don't have this idea of expectation of like this is a better film than just films. Film they're just different.
Have there been times where you just completely doubt what you're doing?
I mean, yeah, every project, from the writing stage to the shooting stage, especially during the editing stage, you have a project you're editing that that doesn't make any sense and is not working, and people aren't laughing or at the right moments, or they're laughing at a point where they're not supposed to laugh at.
Yeah.
And you're like, damn, this doesn't work. But then all you can do is get more perspective, ask different people, and they'll definitely wreck it.
Mm-hmm.
But you notice what's working and what's not working, and then you can shape it a little more and a little more and a little more, and then finally you'll make something that nothing will ever be perfect.
Yeah.
I know that no matter what I make, there are gonna be people that don't like it.
Yeah.
And it's not gonna be.
And it's such
everyone.
a hard reality to wrap your head around, because especially now, like we were talking about before this podcast, like most of the media, well, at least the ones that we as millennials encounter on a daily basis, is just so watered down. Actually, scratch that statement. Some of the media that we encounter, especially in films and stuff, like we were talking about, like action films, right, or films that have thrill, adventure, horror, romance, basically the whole palette of emotions.
Yeah.
To serve to a wholesome audience, and there's nothing wrong in that, but there's times when you wanna present more of one emotion and leave the other one out.
Yeah.
But that doesn't sit well with any people, and it's often hard to make that plunge and decide, okay, this might offend and affect some people, and that's fine, because I choose to follow this vision no matter how stupid it is, because I face that personally. Like I started a YouTube channel last year, and I was like, on the fence and stuff, but I was like, I'm going to commit to it. But then some people were like, hey, don't do this, you're 21, this is shit, whatever. And then it's just been the same with like any of the projects that I start, and I let it affect me for a while. I let it bother me for a while. As famed social media entrepreneur and billionaire and life coach Gary Vee says, fuck the inner circle.
Yeah.
Fuck the inner circle, because it's like, even with the projects that you're making, you're still kind of somehow hoping to get the validation of that one person in your life, and when they take that away from you, it's hard and you're crushed. But it's better to start cultivating that sense of, I'm making this for myself and just myself. Because if you go out, there's also this interesting line in I think an author said it. It's like, if you go make love to the world, if you go write a book for the world, you'll get pneumonia.
I see that. there are definitely, because you're making art for an audience at the end of the day.
True.
And it's always in the back of my head is, will this vibe with people? Will this react? Like, I understand that it's hard to have that audience in mind, but you're making films for people. You're not making a film for yourself. At the end of the day, once you have a $3 million, but I mean, even if you have like a whatever, I'm spending months working on a film. I want people to see it.
Yeah.
And I want people to enjoy it. And I want people to be like, that, he's getting better. Or this is something I'd like to show to my friend, maybe,
Yeah.
Or, that is what I want. I want to make, as I was saying earlier, I want to make films that, people, that touch people, that, and, it's, of course, you can't touch everyone.
Yeah. I would love to touch it.
Yeah, so you can't touch everyone, but
sadly,
if you stay touching yourself, that's all it is. It's just, that's all it is. You're just touching,
you're just touching yourself. It's just too much self-love and not enough love to the world.
I don't know. People, I have this debate with my friends. Some of my friends think that no, if you make art for yourself, you'll find an audience. Like, an audience will come to you that think the same way that you think.
Yeah.
Which is fair. But if you keep on, like, you need to take in different perspectives, when in any work. It's not that I'll still make the movie that I want to make.
Mm-hmm.
But there's in the back of my head, there's this idea of how will people react to this, and there's no better feeling than showing a movie to someone and seeing a reaction that you wanted from that film.
That's crazy. It's like,
that's the reason we make movies. I don't know. The people have different reasons for making movies.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy the reaction that audiences have when watching that movie.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
All right, we're just gonna wrap up with one last thing. So what's something that you would like to discuss with the world that you don't often get the chance to?
Like to discuss with the world? I don't know. I like to take it easy.
I feel. Actually, sorry. Let me rephrase that question to because there's so many things that one wants to say. And I mean, this is a platform, and you get to say that.
Mm-hmm.
As to say anyone who's younger than us, which is a huge number of people, and anyone who's older than us, as a human being who's 21, 22, with your limited experience, with your set of experiences that you've had, with the life that you lived, every human being has something that is valuable and worth extracting a lesson from, even though it may not seem like it on the face of it, for the world. So what is that one thing for you?
All right. You want me to say it to the camera?
Sure.
Which camera do you want me to say it to?
Whichever one you desire.
All right. Say it. I mean, just take it easy. Honestly, life is short, and don't take it too seriously. I mean, we have it way better than most people do.
That is true. Gratitude.
And just, be grateful and take it easy. Have a good time.
Awesome. Well, we had a great time on the Korean Man podcast. This was my dear friend Ali Haejal. Ali, do you have an Instagram that people can follow?
Yeah, at Ali Haejal.
Ali Haejal, that's ALIHAEJAL.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Right? He's a student filmmaker at Boston University. And thank you so much. Sayonara.
Sayonara.